So one of the largest producers of watches in the world is Citizen, a Japanese brand that is known for a variety of styles, with most enthusiasts typically directing their attention to their ProMaster family of professional watches with their land, sea, and air models. 2 years ago, Citizen developed another key pillar in their catalog that quickly connected with watch collectors, their integrated offering known as the Tsuyosa models. Given Citizen's ability to produce a plethora of entry-level mechanical calibers through their manufacturing movement powerhouse that is Miyota, the Tsuyosa models emerged as some of the most attainable mechanical watches of that entire genre. Since then, we've seen new dial colors of the original 3-hand configurations. However, now they just stepped up the game to unveil a new version, a small seconds Tsuyosa, which ups the finish, makes some mild case updates, and delivers a more distinctive design identity that helps separate from the saturated field of competitors. So where we're going to begin here, general review, but then at the end, share some of my final points as well as considerations I would bring forward if you were going to compare this against the rest of the competition for integrated steel sports watches, say under $1,000. At first, when you look at these watches, you probably assume that the only changes here are going to be with the dial and the movement. However, with the case as well as the bracelet, there were several different updates that we need to talk about. What remains is a set of measurements that mirror the rest of the pack, delivering a 40mm diameter, a 45mm lug-to-lug, not including the fixed center link, and a thickness of 11.8mm. When strapped onto the wrist, the watch wears relatively true to its dimension, if not slightly larger, similar to most integrated steel sports watches on the market. So in other words, a pretty mass appealing size. It's going to work well for all but the smallest of wrists out there. The case finish follows the path of familiarity with vertically brushed tops of the central case and polished line facets running the length that also matches the case sides and slanted bezel. The first call out for something different here is the push-pull crown situated at the 4-4-30 position. So if you recall those center stack 3-hand versions, which still exist and have different dial colors now available, the small seconds has its crown extended from the case much further than the traditional 3-hand models that we saw a couple years ago. This is a feature I have not seen discussed as much, but is a major improvement as the previous iterations were hard to get a grasp of. In this instance, the crown is more appropriately positioned to balance usability and protection effectively. Next is the pin-adjusted bracelet that appears the same at first, but actually has several changes. One is that these watches have introduced a quick-release chain system where you can swap out pretty easily between strap and bracelet. Now, the leather strap options on these watches are not going to be the best. Nevertheless, having the option is better than being tied permanently to the bracelet only. What is very interesting though is that when putting the strap on, I found that the end link actually extends out further than it does when you have it on the bracelet, roughly 1 millimeter in terms of measurement. Just a point to keep in mind for the small wristed among us. Further, the bracelet links are mildly updated to have more space between them, adding to breathability and comfort overall. Now, 2 changes to the bracelets that I think some people might not be as crazy about. One is less taper for these iterations, as well as introducing a new clasp. So the butterfly dual button lock system in this latest version is more secure, premium, elegant, and will not add to the thickness during wear. However, it does lose 3 points of micro adjustment from those other versions. Instead, the small seconds opts for including half links for more precise fitting. In the vast majority of cases, you're not going to have to worry about finding a proper fit. This considered, the lack of points of micro adjustment might be a drawback for some. Like the other versions, the watch comes equipped with 50 meters of water resistance, giving it mild sporty upside, though falling behind some of the other leaders that usually aim for 100 meters. Now, what is clearly the most visible change for these watches from afar is the completely different dial design and layout underneath the sapphire crystals. So as you look at the integrated steel sports watches at the more affordable end of the spectrum, many fall victim to the pervasive repetitiveness where little is being brought to the table. Part of what allowed these watches to separate from the crowded landscape, in my eyes, was how the small seconds deliver just enough independence to break through the derivative cycle that can happen when attempting to make a watch of this category. The new dial colors include a blue, a subtle green, and a charcoal gray, each coming with a contrasting small seconds at 6, with a distinctive color hand complementing the broader design recipe. Along the outside are raised hour markers, with 2 markers being at 12 and 6, set inward from the printed minute track, with printed text at 12 residing over a visually interesting guilloche style pattern that is achieved by pressing in the factory. At dial center are your pencil style hour and minute hands with a center facet running the length, being topped off with the use of superluminova to match the broader markers. When looking at the lume in totality, it stacks up decently against other integrated watches of the segment, though it does fall short compared to class-leading lume seen in the ProMaster collection from Citizen. So if you're shopping for watches under $1,000, we put together a curated selection of watches on teddybaldassarre.com in that price bucket. We have a variety of different brands, variety of different styles here, also new releases from brands like Seiko, dozens and dozens of watches to check out. So if you're interested in that, check out the link in the description down below. Shifting to the case back, we have an exhibition style giving us view of the Miyota 8322A, providing the mechanical framework for this watch's design and timekeeping. Now, for those not familiar, Miyota is the movement manufacturing arm for Citizen Watch Group, being one of, if not the largest producer of mechanical calibers in the world by volume. Given the scale, their movements are not meant to wow with their sophisticated finishing. Instead, they are byproducts of industrialized processes that optimize durability and dependability. This caliber is similar to other Tsuyosas, being of the 8 series family with its 3 Hz or 21,600 vibrations per hour frequency and winds unidirectionally. That said, it does deliver some notable upgrades from previous versions that we've seen from this model family. For one, these movements improve the finishing compared to the simple 8210 of the original Tsuyosas, with striping on the bridges, blued screws, and a simple skeletonized rotor. The most notable improvement, though, with these 83 calibers is that the length of the power reserve is extended to 60 hours, getting them into the conversations with Powermatics and the 6R35 movements on duration. Citizen, for their 83 calibers, typically state a very wide range of accepted accuracy at -20 to +40 seconds a day, but all of these models easily outperform that by a wide margin. Further, these movements do enable hacking and hand winding, an endeavor that is a lot easier to manage this time around given the updated crown position. So now some closing thoughts on these new Citizen Tsuyosa models. What are just my considerations, what I think you should think about, and how do these generally stack up to the competition? We obviously need to address the fact that these are more expensive than the previous Tsuyosa models, with retail prices being at $595. Though they do have some improvements that I think justify that being the case. You're now getting a more comfortable bracelet with a quick release system to go along with it, a higher grade movement with the extended power reserve that adds roughly 50% to the duration seen previously, and perhaps more importantly, you're getting a design that sure is not going to win a prize for ingenuity. However, with its small seconds and dial finish, it makes these feel unfettered from the conventional norms watches following this integrated blueprint typically have. It does still come with some drawbacks, no question about it, such as the lack of micro adjustment other than the half links, and still only providing 50 meters of water resistance while much of the competition is going to deliver 100 meters, something like the PRX as an example. That said, I think these watches have now quickly jumped up the pecking order when you're considering a top integrated steel sports watch in this sub $1,000 price category. And beyond that, and probably even more importantly, this is one of the more compelling new propositions from Citizen in this price range in recent years. But all right, guys, that's my take on the new Citizen Tsuyosa models. I think these have quickly emerged now as one of these leading candidates for a watch of this style. And again, we have been seeing many, many releases of watches of this integrated steel sports variety, but this is a good candidate, I think, because it's not so on the nose like all of the other creations that maybe don't have as much history in making watches of this style, but doing it here with some different design approaches with the small seconds and the texturized dial at this price point. I think there's enough going on here that makes it feel a little bit different compared to the fatigue that has now come with many of these watches that have become unveiled in the last few years. But what is your take? Do you like these new designs? What is your favorite dial color of the new dials created? Leave some comments down below. Also, if you enjoyed the video and want to see more videos like this, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the bell icon, really do appreciate that. Also check out teddybaldassarre.com, full authorized dealer of 30 brands, quick and fast fulfillment, dedicated customer support, and a full factory warranty for all the products that we offer. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Be well, and I will see you all very soon.